I was reading Miguel Ruiz's book, The Four Arrangements, or The Four Agreements, not The Four Arrangements. And scrap that, that's so wrong. I was reading his Tree of Knowledge, not his Four Agreements. And in that, he talks about our stories and what our stories mean to us and how we replay them. And primarily, he talks about the way we have this narrative of how life should be and the different roles everybody should play in this life. And not only that, whenever we're considering how these things work out, we have this amazing ability of playing the scenarios like a videotape. And of course, because it's the videotape in our mind, it's absolutely correct, or so we think. So it made me think more about whenever we think of events and whenever we see our stories and the way we witness things, how true is it? And have you ever been in an argument with somebody or a discussion or even just had a 5-minute chat and then a week later you come across that person and you have this discussion and you suddenly realize, no, that wasn't what I said, and no, that wasn't what you said, but it was only you and them. And then you start arguing about what was said, and you might even argue about what the weather was like that day, and you both cannot be right. But it used to really frustrate me because I used to believe that they were wrong. And I was so firm fixed belief that they were wrong because I was able to replay the whole conversation in my head. I was able to recall it, every bit of detail, and replay it. But just because I could do that, does it mean it's right? Now, here's the thing. It's how we store our memories. Now, we don't store them like a videotape stores. Our brain does something that it has to do, otherwise it wouldn't be able to look up things, it wouldn't be able to store things in the way it does. So what it does, it takes every event, every situation, everything you're doing, and it pulls it apart and stores it in like-minded areas to similarities. And we know this because in Pennsylvania University, I think it's Pennsylvania University, a group of students were given several words, and they were given them in intervals of a few seconds. And the words were things like bed, bedroom, nighttime, tiredness, loads of these words. And then on recall, nearly everybody would add the word sleep, but the word sleep was not in the words given. Now then, if we record things absolutely, why would we add the word sleep? It's because we look for similarities. And when we eyewitness something, we eyewitness it, but we store it along with similarities to that event. So if you watch a lot of movies, you might actually store the real event with certain aspects of a movie. And then when you recall it, you get something in between. Sounds bizarre, but it's true. And with the event of DNA testing in the early 1990s, they went back through a lot of eyewitness convictions in the States. And they found 74% of them with DNA were found to be innocent. Now, yes, granted, some of the cases might have been a vindictive person deliberately looking up and making a mistake on the lineup. But what it does show is we can be sure of something, but we can never be 100%. But what does this have to do with stories? Just let me catch up on the comments a moment. I would love to know your thoughts on hospice. Can you explain to me what you mean by that? And then I will answer. I'm starting a new path tomorrow. I've been dreaming about it for 6 months. Is it wrong going on your dreams? Oh, absolutely not. Look, we have one life. We have this wonderful gift to do something that we enjoy and we love, and to make something of ourselves and improve the planet. And what better way than to have dreams and aspirations and these things that make us happy? The only problem is if you want those dreams, if you believe those dreams will make you happy, then they may not. For the simple fact, when you realize you can be happy right now in the moment, if you take a deep breath and you realize you have everything in your life right now to be happy, then you'll be happy when you get your dreams. There's no thing wrong with wanting more out of life. I want to build my own house. I want a new electric wheelchair. I would like a partner. There's so many things I would like. But that doesn't mean I'm not happy now. So many people win the lottery and 6 months later aren't happy because they weren't happy before. I'm going slightly off track now, but go for your dreams. Do it. Going back to story. Again, it's another story about our dreams. We have this story of some people will tell us from their story, don't go for your dreams. You'll never get them. Other people, go for them. Just stories, all stories. So where does memory come into stories? Well, it's a story we tell ourselves all the time. And if we get fixated on our stories and how we recall them, and if we get that is exactly what happened. We get so much angst and so much anger. And we go around thinking everybody else's story of events are wrong. So that's one way we can find a little more peace of mind, is they're recalling their memory, I'm recalling my memory, and somewhere in the middle of all this shit is the truth. And I'm okay with that. It means I'm partly wrong, they're partly wrong, and we're both partly right. But how else does story affect our lives? This was a big realization for me, and that is, from the day go, we're brought up by people with stories. Stories of how you should live, what their beliefs are, their opinions. From teachers to our parents to our friends, they all have a story of how life should be and how you should live your life. And then their stories, a combined effort of their stories, become our story. We have a story of how I have a story in my head of how my mum should be, how my daughter should be, how you guys should interact with me on the web, how you guys should like a certain picture. I have a story of how my dentist should be. And in all of these roles, none of them know the role they're supposed to play in my story. So when my daughter or my mum, sister, friend, neighbour doesn't live up to my expectations of what I've given them in my story, I get annoyed. Oh, you should have known, you know. And then, even on a positive sense, if someone doesn't live up to my high expectations, then I'm like, but how can they do it? We almost think it's their fault for not living up to it. But how is it their fault if they don't know what they should be doing for us? It's bizarre, really. We get so annoyed by people. And meanwhile, they have a story. They have their narrative, which they're the main character, of how we should interact with them. My mum has a story of how I should be. So if we drop this, rigid need of the story has to be the way I've got it in my head, we find again a little more relaxed in the world. If they don't know how to be, how can you blame them? You could be home all day, working like anything. Absolutely tired, you've done loads and loads of housework, you've run ragged with the kids, you've had everything go wrong, and the partner comes in, and I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, your partner comes in and demands a cup of coffee. And then we're so annoyed because how dare you come in and demand a cup of coffee? I've had a hard day. Everything's gone wrong. Everything's gone. Again, we wanted them to come in and understand we've had a hard day. And then we're disappointed. Meanwhile, they could have been out in traffic and they could have been cut up 5 times by people that have got other things on their mind. They could have had a really bad day with their boss or their employees. And meanwhile, we're expecting them to come in and be the other. So when we stop expecting and start explaining and start understanding a little more, then again we have a little more, it's okay. Maybe they've had a bad day too. Make them a coffee and then explain your day and ask them how their day was. Instead of being annoyed because they haven't thought about you, but meanwhile they don't know anything about your day. It's just an example. I do it with my carers all the time. And I get annoyed by it all the time. I'm just going to catch up on your messages. And have a nice drink of lemonade. Yeah, absolutely. I'll message you, Cummy Joe, and then we'll have a chat about it. I am happy now. Thanks for this. My pleasure. Yeah, we should take people who they are and understand it's their story. And there's a quote that I see often on Facebook, which means more to me by the day, by the year it goes by, and that is, we see the world the way we are. And that causes so much frustration for us because we expect people to react and live the way we are. Does that make sense? And when they don't, again, live up to the story, live up to the narrative of who we are, or the narrative of what we got in our head, bang, it's their fault. We get annoyed. How do they know? How does my mum know my story in my head, and how does she know exactly how I expect her to behave? Apart from the above and beyond the normal mum thing. Yeah, that's a very important point, Cummy. Everyone has their own story, thoughts, expectations. Thankfully, we are different. Yeah, absolutely. Embrace differences. The more we embrace our differences, the more we understand people are coming with the best intentions. Even right down to people that maybe have looked to or using substances to try to escape, or people get addicted to things to try to escape life. They too are trying their best all the time. It may not be what our story of how they should be and what they should do, but we're not them. That's an important thing, is we are not them. We haven't had their lives. We haven't had their perspectives. We haven't got their memory, their imprint of how life has been. We've got our partly true one, which goes with their partly true one. And somewhere in the middle, there's a partly true. As you notice, everything's full of part truths. There's no one absolute truth. In answer to your actual question, was it reading books? If I was to say to you, how much would it be worth to have Nelson Mandela sit in your room and chat to you for an hour and teach you what he knows? You'd pay thousands. Buy his book, 10 quid. All what he knows. We've got all these experts in books that have passed down what they know. It's great. That's the way you learn. Books. Don't we learn from people that come in our... Yeah. Our stories and narrative of people that come into our lives. We learn from them, the good, the bad. They teach us so much. As long as we allow them to. Everybody has something to teach us. Yeah, I'm a believer. I'm not so much a believer everything happens for a reason. I do believe on the karma sense that we have an influence. But I do believe things, shit happens. It's what we do with it that counts. You know, you're paralyzed. What are you going to do about it? You can either sit down and sulk, or you can do something about it. You know, that would have been good advice for me when I was 18. I'd have probably got annoyed by the person. But great, you're paralyzed. What are you going to do about it? It's truly a gift. I played the victim for a while and then grew. A blessing. Yeah, played the victim for a while, and that's okay. Very briefly, whenever anything goes wrong, you have the numbness, and then get mad, get very mad, then cry your eyes out, and then forgive and move on. Whether it's an accident, whether it's someone that's done you wrong, whatever it is, you have to be mad, you have to cry, you have to, you know, being consciously more mature doesn't mean less pain. This is the myth. We don't live in this blissful, oh, everything's wonderful, Rosie. Bollocks. I cry. I hurt. I hurt when I hear the news that something's gone badly wrong. I hurt when my daughter's upset. But I don't hold it and carry it and suffer with it. That's the difference. And that's why the Buddha says, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Amazing. You put me there. Oh no, don't. It's funny with the shame thing, because if I inspire some people, it's an inward way of looking at, well, if he can do it, why can't I do it? And the funny thing is, we can all do it, and we all have the strength inside. We have that, you know, I can't do anything for you. I can light your little flame. Your flame's there to burn and bright, and, you know, I just love you guys being part of it. You help me so much. But please don't think my life is this blissful, everything goes well, because it bloody doesn't. But it's this knowledge of, my thoughts don't have to be mine. and my feelings don't have to be me. Yeah, it's funny when someone comes up, and I live up top of a hill, and someone comes up to me and they walk in and they go, "Oh, my legs are killing me." And I never rise to it because I think that's cool. You know, you've got legs, and yes, they hurt on the hill. Just because I can't feel my legs doesn't mean to say your legs aren't going to hurt. So, you know, I don't know where that was going, but, you know, we've all got our vices. We've all got our, you know, I moan about stupid things that my carers would probably say. But I never belittle anybody else's struggles because they're relative to them. Don't compare your struggles to others. Your struggles are perfectly there for you at the moment, perfectly placed for you to grow at the moment. And going back to one of my favourite sayings, I love my sayings, and this one's mine. There's a gift in everything. You just have to find it. But we often spend so much time pushing away the crap that we don't allow it in to find the gift. Right, it's 1:30 and I've spoke for ages. I got a nice Snickers bar that I'm going to eat in a minute. It's looking at me saying, "Eat me." What are you guys doing the rest of the day? I hope you have a good day. Hope you enjoy yourselves. Hopefully I've given you something to think about. Above all, think about, is it just my story? Am I annoyed because it's my story? Take care, guys. I absolutely love you all. I love your comments. I love your likes. And I love doing this page. If you are on Twitter, follow me on there, The Moving Road. I'm going to try to do Periscope a little more.